My name is Ashton, and at 35 years old I thought being the financial backbone for my family's Christmas celebrations showed my love. Year after year I footed bills for gifts, food, and venues without complaint. That changed when I accidentally saw their secret group chat. The words "holiday parasite" stared back at me, written by my own sister about me. Before I dive into how my family betrayed me, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss stories about standing up for yourself when nobody else will. Growing up in suburban Chicago, I lived a typical middle-class life. My parents, Gerald and Patricia, raised 3 children in a modest 4-bedroom home. They worked hard, Dad as a high school math teacher, and Mom as a nurse at the local hospital. We never had extravagant things, but we never went without necessities either. Christmas was special, though. My parents somehow managed to create magical mornings with thoughtfully chosen gifts under our artificial tree despite their limited budget. Unlike my siblings, I took academics seriously from an early age. While my younger sister Cassandra was the social butterfly, and my older brother Marcus was the athletic star, I buried myself in books and dreamed of financial independence. This drive carried me through high school with honors and secured me several scholarships to Northwestern University, where I majored in finance. College wasn't easy financially. My scholarships covered tuition but little else. I worked 20 to 30 hours weekly at a campus coffee shop then, as an office assistant in the business department. Watching my peers party, while I balanced spreadsheets and textbooks, taught me discipline. I graduated with minimal debt and landed an entry-level position at a respected financial advisory firm in downtown Chicago. Over the next decade, I climbed steadily through determination and strategic career moves. By 30, I had become a senior financial advisor with a 6-figure income, a comfortable condo overlooking Lake Michigan, and investment portfolios that performed exceptionally well. My siblings took different paths. Marcus became a physical education teacher like our father, and Cassandra worked part-time at a department store while raising her children. Our family expanded through marriages and children. Marcus married Rebecca, a kindergarten teacher, and they had twin boys, Tyler and Brandon, now 11. Cassandra married Tom, who worked in construction, and they had a daughter, Emma, who just turned 9. My parents retired 5 years ago with Dad's teacher pension and Mom's modest retirement savings. I remained single, focused on building my career and financial stability. This became particularly important when my parents faced unexpected challenges during their retirement transition. Dad's pension wasn't stretching as far as they'd hoped, and Mom's medical expenses increased dramatically after her arthritis diagnosis. Their financial strain became apparent during Christmas planning 7 years ago. Over coffee one morning, Mom tearfully admitted they couldn't afford the usual family celebration. That moment changed everything. I immediately offered to cover Christmas expenses that year, insisting it would be my gift to everyone. What began as a one-time gesture evolved into an annual tradition. Each year I increased my Christmas budget as our family grew and expectations rose. Initially, I funded a modest celebration at my parents' house, with home-cooked meals and thoughtfully selected gifts. By last year, Christmas had transformed into an elaborate affair at a rented venue with catered meals and extravagant gifts. For each family member, I carefully selected presents valued between $200 and $500. The children received the latest gaming systems, designer clothes, and expensive toys. Adults received luxury items, designer handbags for the women, premium tech gadgets for the men, and high-end kitchen appliances or jewelry for my parents. Beyond gifts, I covered everything: a professionally decorated venue with towering Christmas trees and elaborate light displays, gourmet catering for 20-plus people, including extended family professional photography sessions, and entertainment, including holiday musicians and activities for the kids. My Christmas spending ballooned to over $15,000 annually. The joy on everyone's faces made every dollar feel worthwhile. At least that's what I told myself. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs: how gift acknowledgments became briefer each year, how help setting up or cleaning disappeared, how conversations shifted from gratitude to expectations. Small comments should have alerted me. Is this the newest model when opening electronics? Or Cassandra's annual gift list growing longer with specific brands and models? or Marcus complaining about last year's venue being too far from his house. My parents stopped offering to contribute anything beyond token decorations, instead making suggestions for improvements like better champagne or premium menu options. Despite these subtle red flags, I remained committed to creating perfect family Christmases. The memories of my childhood celebrations drove me to replicate that magic, only magnified by my financial means. I wanted my niece and nephews to experience spectacular holidays they would remember forever. I wanted my parents to enjoy luxurious celebrations after decades of sacrificing for us. I wanted to be the generous brother and son who made Christmas dreams come true. This desire to provide kept me blind to the evolving family dynamic, one where I slowly transformed from cherished family member to expected provider of holiday extravagance. Last Christmas marked a turning point, though I didn't recognize it immediately. The celebration cost me just over $15,000, an amount that, even with my comfortable salary, required advance planning and monthly setting aside of funds. I never complained about the expense, considering it an investment in family happiness and connection. The day itself followed our established pattern. I arrived early at the upscale venue I had booked, an elegantly renovated historic mansion with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a snow-covered garden. Professional decorators had transformed the space into a winter wonderland, with white flocked trees, thousands of twinkling lights, and luxurious garland wrapping every banister. A 12-foot main tree dominated the great room, surrounded by carefully wrapped presents for everyone. My family arrived precisely when gift opening was scheduled to begin. Cassandra breezed in with Tom and Emma, immediately directing her daughter toward the largest packages. "Those are probably yours, sweetie. Uncle Ashton always gets you the best stuff." No hello, no offer to help with last-minute arrangements, no acknowledgement of the beautiful space I had secured. Marcus and Rebecca arrived next with the twins, who ran straight to the refreshment table. "Boys, grab whatever you want," Marcus called after them, then turned to me. "The caterer didn't bring those special desserts." I mentioned, "Did they? The ones from that bakery across town." This was the first I'd heard of any special dessert request, but his tone suggested I'd somehow failed by not anticipating it. My parents arrived last, Dad complaining about the parking situation, and Mom immediately settling into the most comfortable chair, announcing she was too tired to help with anything. The pattern continued throughout the day, family members engaging minimally with me but extensively with the gifts and amenities I provided. After presents were opened and exclaimed over, though with noticeably less enthusiasm than the price tags warranted, I noticed most family members glued to their phones, texting rapidly. Dinner was consumed quickly with complaints about small details, the turkey being slightly dry, the potatoes not exactly like Mom used to make, the wine selection lacking someone's preferred brand. Most concerning, within 30 minutes of dessert being served, Cassandra announced they needed to leave for another commitment. Marcus followed shortly after, claiming the boys were tired, though they seemed energetic enough running around with their new gifts. By 7 in the evening, only my parents remained, and they suggested I call them a ride service since they were too exhausted to help clean up. I spent that night alone in my condo, surrounded by leftover desserts I'd brought home, wondering why such a perfect on-paper celebration felt so emotionally empty. The gifts I'd received in return highlighted the imbalance: a $10 coffee shop gift card from Marcus and Rebecca, generic cologne from Cassandra and Tom, and a photograph frame from my parents that I later discovered was regifted from their neighbors. January brought another troubling development. Family members who rarely contacted me throughout the year suddenly had urgent financial emergencies requiring my assistance. Cassandra needed help with Emma's dance competition fees. Marcus had unexpected car repairs. Mom required special medications not covered by insurance. Each request came with reminders of how much I could afford it given my successful career and how family should support each other. By spring, these financial requests had become so frequent I attempted to establish boundaries. During a family Sunday dinner, I gently suggested creating a system where I could plan for family support rather than responding to constant emergencies. The reaction was immediate and hostile. "So you're keeping score now," Cassandra snapped. "Must be nice to worry about budgeting when you have so much," Marcus added sarcastically. Mom looked disappointed. "I thought we raised you to be generous, Ashton. Family doesn't keep tallies." Their reactions left me speechless and doubting my own perspective. Was I being selfish? Was this normal family support? I retreated from the conversation, apologized for bringing it up, and continued addressing their financial needs when asked. Summer brought early discussions about Christmas much earlier than usual. During a July barbecue at my parents' home, Cassandra casually mentioned she had taken the liberty of researching venues for Christmas. "The Lakeside Manor has this amazing Christmas package," she explained, showing me brochures on her phone. "It's a bit pricier than last year, but they have actual reindeer for the kids to pet and a gourmet 7-course dinner." When I checked later, the package started at $20,000 before adding gifts or extras. Marcus joined the conversation with his own suggestions: personalized Christmas stockings from an artisan weaver for everyone, professional family portraits in coordinated holiday attire, possibly hiring a celebrity Santa impersonator he'd seen advertised. My parents nodded approvingly at these suggestions while adding their own perhaps vintage champagne this year, or hiring a car service to transport everyone instead of dealing with parking. Not once did anyone acknowledge the increasing costs or offer to contribute. When I carefully mentioned the significant price increase from previous years, the response was unified dismissal. "You always figure it out, Ashton. It's just once a year. Don't you want the kids to have magical memories?" The subtle manipulation worked. By August, I had placed deposits on the Lakeside Manor, established payment plans for major gift purchases, and started researching their other requests. My financial advisor side recognized I was stretching my budget dangerously thin, but my desire for family approval overrode professional judgment. Throughout fall, I noticed increasing oddities in family communication. Group texts about Christmas planning would suddenly go quiet when I joined the conversation. Family members seemed to have information I hadn't shared. When I arrived early for Sunday dinners, conversations would abruptly change topic. Once I overheard Marcus tell Rebecca, "Don't worry, he'll cover it," before noticing my presence and quickly changing the subject. Another time I caught Cassandra shushing Emma when the child started to say something about the Christmas plan. These incidents created a growing unease, but I dismissed my concerns as overthinking. After all, this was my family, the people who had supported me throughout my life, who shared my history and blood. Surely I was imagining problems where none existed. Still, a nagging feeling persisted as Christmas approached. Family members became increasingly vague about their availability to help with preparations. When I asked specific questions about preferences, responses were minimal, but expectations remained high. Something felt off in a way I couldn't articulate until 3 weeks before Christmas, when everything became devastatingly clear. 3 weeks before Christmas, I drove to my parents' house to finalize catering details. The Lakeside Manor needed final meal selections and allergy information for all guests. Rather than texting everyone individually, I thought it would be more efficient to gather information in person during our regular Sunday dinner. The house smelled of Mom's traditional pot roast when I arrived. Dad watched football in the living room while Mom finished cooking. Cassandra and her family were already there, with Marcus and his crew running late as usual. Emma played with her tablet on the couch, barely looking up when I entered. "The caterer called again," I explained after greeting everyone. "I need to confirm meal choices by tomorrow." Cassandra looked annoyed. "I already told you what we want. You mentioned prime rib, but they need to know about sides, desserts, and any dietary restrictions," I clarified. She rolled her eyes dramatically. "Fine, let me pull up their menu again." She patted her pockets. "I left my phone in the kitchen. Can you grab it for me?" I headed to the kitchen, spotting her phone on the counter next to Mom's recipe box. As I picked it up, the screen lit up with incoming messages. I didn't mean to read them, but the group chat name instantly caught my eye: Christmas 2024, no Ashton. A cold feeling washed over me. I glanced toward the living room, confirming everyone was still occupied. Curiosity and dread battled within me as I swiped to open the messages. What I saw shattered everything I thought I knew about my family relationships. The chat included everyone: Cassandra, Tom, Marcus, Rebecca, my parents, even aunts, uncles, and cousins who attended our celebrations. Scrolling up revealed weeks of conversations all centered around Christmas planning. And me. "Reminder to act. Super grateful when Ashton gives you your gift," Cassandra had written yesterday. "Last year he seemed suspicious when Dad just said thanks for the golf clubs." Marcus had responded. Do we really have to keep pretending his boring parties are fun? The kids were complaining about having to smile for pictures last year. My mother, who had taught us about kindness and gratitude, replied, just a few hours of pretending, then we get expensive gifts and can leave for the real celebration at Marcus's house. Small price to pay. My hands trembled as I continued scrolling through weeks of similar exchanges. The most painful message came from Cassandra, sent just 3 days ago. Our holiday parasite is getting suspicious. He asked if we could help set up this year. I told him Emma has a recital that day. My own sister had referred to me as a parasite. The word burned into my consciousness as replies appeared. Holiday parasite, perfect name for him, from my cousin Brian. As long as the parasite keeps the gifts flowing, I'll pretend to care about his stupid Christmas speech from my brother. 20 years of teaching taught me how to look interested when I'm actually planning dinner menus in my head from my father. Comments about my boring stories, my pathetic desire for family connection, and detailed strategies for maximizing what they could get from me filled the chat history. They even compared notes on what they could request for next year based on my projected income. The most recent messages discussed their real Christmas celebration, scheduled for later the same day at Marcus's house, a relaxed gathering where they could be themselves without my controlling presence, dictating the perfect Christmas experience. I stood frozen in the kitchen, physically ill, as years of memories transformed in an instant. Every grateful smile, every thank you, every family photo now appeared as calculated performances designed to keep the parasite, providing benefits while they tolerated my presence. With shaking hands, I took screenshots of the most damning messages, sending them to my own phone as evidence. I don't know how long I stood there before Cassandra called from the living room. Ashton, did you find my phone? Somehow I managed to compose myself enough to return to the living room, handing her the phone without meeting her eyes. Need to check something with the venue, I mumbled, heading straight for the door without waiting for a response. What about dinner? Mom called after me. Something came up. Work emergency, I managed to say before escaping to my car. The 20-minute drive home passed in a blur of tears and disbelief. Memories replayed with new context. The quickly abandoned celebrations once gifts were distributed. The minimal effort, reciprocal gifts. The increasing demands each year, the subtle eye rolls when I proposed family activities beyond gift-giving. I had been completely blind to their true feelings, constructing an elaborate fantasy of family connection that existed only in my mind. The financial cost, though substantial, paled compared to the emotional investment I had made in people who saw me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. That night, sleep was impossible. I alternated between sobbing into my pillow and staring blankly at the ceiling, replaying conversations from years past with new understanding. The screenshots on my phone confirmed this wasn't a misunderstanding or overreaction my family had created, an entire communication system, specifically to exclude me while coordinating how best to exploit my generosity. The term holiday parasite kept repeating in my mind. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me. They had labeled me the parasite when they were the ones extracting resources while giving nothing in return. In biological terms, they were the true parasites, taking without reciprocating, draining their host without concern for its well-being. As dawn broke, I lay exhausted but with growing clarity. The family I thought I had didn't exist. The love and connection I believed I was fostering through generosity was entirely one-sided. Every Christmas memory I cherished was for them merely a performance to ensure continued benefits. The pain was excruciating, but something else emerged alongside it. A quiet, simmering anger that would ultimately give me strength to break free from this toxic pattern once and for all. Morning arrived after a sleepless night, finding me hollow-eyed and emotionally raw. The screenshots on my phone confirmed yesterday's discovery wasn't some terrible nightmare. My family, the people I'd loved and supported unconditionally, had been using me while mockingly calling me a holiday parasite behind my back. I called my office, something I'd never done in 10 years of employment. I need to take a personal day. I told my assistant, my voice barely recognizable even to myself. Concern colored her response, but I assured her I'd be fine tomorrow. That was a lie. I had no idea how I'd ever be fine again. Alone in my apartment, I alternated between numbness and waves of agonizing pain. One moment I'd stare blankly at the wall. The next I'd dissolve into tears, reviewing the screenshots, reading each cruel message from people I thought loved me. The betrayal felt physical, like someone had reached into my chest and crushed my heart with bare hands. By noon, I recognized I needed professional help to process this trauma. I had been seeing Dr. Simon, a therapist, for occasional anxiety management sessions related to work stress. This situation warranted an emergency appointment. His receptionist heard the desperation in my voice and squeezed me in for a 4 o'clock session. Dr. Simon's office had always felt like a sanctuary, warm lighting, comfortable furniture, the subtle scent of sandalwood. Today it couldn't penetrate my fog of betrayal and grief. I wordlessly handed him my phone with the screenshots displayed. His expression remained professional as he reviewed them, but his eyes reflected genuine concern when he looked up. "Ashton, I'm truly sorry you've experienced this. This is an extraordinary breach of trust from multiple family members simultaneously." The validation hearing someone confirm this wasn't normal or acceptable family behavior broke something inside me. I sobbed openly for several minutes, while Dr. Simon waited patiently, occasionally offering tissues. When I could speak again, I poured everything out: the years of funding Christmas, the increasing demands, the subtle signs I'd missed, and the devastating discovery. Was I just a complete fool? How did I not see this? "You weren't foolish, Ashton. You were trusting," Dr. Simon countered gently. "You operated from a place of genuine love and generosity. They took advantage of that goodness in you. The failure of character here is entirely theirs, not yours." We discussed the psychological patterns at play, how my childhood experiences had created a deep need for family approval, how my financial success had become my primary method of securing connection, how my family had gradually exploited this vulnerability. "What do I do now?" I asked, feeling completely lost. Christmas is 3 weeks away. They're expecting gifts, the venue, everything. "What do you want to do?" Dr. Simon asked. "Not what you feel obligated to do, but what would represent taking care of yourself in this situation." The question stunned me. I'd spent so many years considering everyone else's wants and needs that considering my own felt almost forbidden. After a long silence, the answer emerged with surprising clarity. "I want to stop being used," I said firmly. "I want to cancel everything, the venue, the catering, the gifts, all of it. I don't want to spend another dollar on people who mock me behind my back." Dr. Simon nodded. "That sounds like an appropriate boundary. How do you want to communicate this decision to them?" This required more thought. My initial impulse was confrontation, to call a family meeting and expose their betrayal face to face. But Dr. Simon helped me consider the likely outcomes. "They've shown remarkable coordination in maintaining this deception," he noted. "A direct confrontation might result in collective gaslighting, where they minimize what happened, blame you for overreacting, or even claim you misunderstood obvious jokes." We discussed alternatives, considering my emotional well-being and desire for closure. By session's end, I had a clear 3-phase plan. First, cancel everything without explanation, then document any manipulation attempts, and finally confront them with evidence on my terms. "This won't be easy," Dr. Simon warned as our session concluded. "When people accustomed to exploiting someone lose access to resources, they often escalate manipulation tactics dramatically before accepting the new boundary. Prepare yourself for guilt trips, anger, possible flying monkeys, people sent to pressure you on their behalf, and attempts to make you question your own perception." I left his office feeling simultaneously drained and empowered. The path ahead would be painful, but for the first time I was choosing self-respect over appeasement. That evening I began executing Phase 1. First, I called the Lakeside Manor to cancel our reservation. The event coordinator expressed surprise given the substantial deposit I'd already paid. "Family emergency," I explained simply. "Will I receive any portion of the deposit back?" "I'm afraid not, sir. Our contract clearly states deposits are non-refundable within 30 days of the event." "I understand. Please cancel it anyway." Next came the catering company, the photographer, the specialty dessert bakery, and the car service, all canceled with the same brief explanation: and acceptance of lost deposits. Each cancellation strengthened my resolve like cutting cords that had bound me to toxic obligations. The most difficult cancellations involved gifts already purchased. Some items could be returned for full refunds. Others, particularly custom or engraved items, could not. For these, I discovered a solution through a local charity supporting families in crisis during the holidays. They gratefully accepted my donations, providing tax receipts that somewhat offset the financial losses. By midnight, I had systematically dismantled every aspect of Christmas I'd been planning for months. The financial cost was substantial, nearly $4,000 in non-refundable deposits and non-returnable items. Yet this felt like a bargain compared to the $15,000 plus I would have spent completing the celebration, not to mention the incalculable cost to my dignity and emotional well-being. Predictably, my phone began buzzing with notifications around 10 the following morning. The venue had contacted my mother as the secondary point of contact, informing her of the cancellation. This triggered a cascade of messages and calls from family members. "There must be some mistake with the venue. Mom, the caterer said you canceled everything. Call me as soon as possible. Cassandra. What the hell is going on? The boys are counting on those gaming systems. Marcus." I read each message but responded to none, documenting everything as Dr. Simon had advised. The tone shifted rapidly from confusion to concern to entitlement and anger as hours passed without my response. "This isn't funny, Ashton. Fix this now. Cassandra. Mom is crying because of whatever game you're playing. Marcus. Son, whatever's bothering you, we can talk about it. But the Christmas arrangements need to be sorted immediately. Dad." By evening, the messages became increasingly manipulative, hitting every emotional trigger they'd successfully used in the past. Emma cried when I told her Christmas might be canceled. "How can you do this to an innocent child, Cassandra? After all, we've done for you growing up. This is how you repay us, Mom. If this is about money, you should have said something, instead of ruining Christmas for everyone. Marcus." Their coordinated pressure campaign might have worked before. Now seeing the transparent manipulation attempts only strengthened my resolve and justified my decision. They weren't concerned about me or my feelings, only about what they would no longer receive. The silence I maintained was profoundly uncomfortable yet necessary. Every instinct conditioned over years screamed to respond, to fix things, to apologize for disrupting their expectations. Resisting those urges required constant reminding myself of the holiday parasite chat and the years of exploitation it represented. That night I received notification of a new group chat being created, Christmas emergency. "Where is Ashton?" which excluded me but was visible through cloud synchronization on my iPad. They were coordinating a response to my silence, planning an intervention of sorts, with my brother volunteering his house for an emergency family meeting the following evening. Their messages confirmed everything Dr. Simon had predicted. They were banding together to formulate the most effective manipulation strategy, completely unaware that I could see their planning in real time. This inadvertent transparency steeled me for the next phase of my response, which would shatter their illusion of control permanently. The notification for the Christmas emergency family meeting appeared on my phone Wednesday evening, sent by my mother to everyone except me. The message stated simply, "Marcus's house, 7 tomorrow evening. We need to figure out what's wrong with Ashton and salvage Christmas. Bring any communications you've had with him recently." They were gathering to strategize without realizing I could see their plans. This provided the perfect opportunity for the confrontation on my terms, digital, rather than in person, preventing them from using physical presence to intimidate or emotionally manipulate me. I spent Wednesday evening preparing carefully. First, I created a new group chat including every family member who had participated in the holiday parasite conversation. Then, I organized my evidence screenshots of their most hurtful messages, photos documenting years of one-sided gift exchanges, spreadsheets detailing my Christmas expenditures for the past 5 years. I also drafted my message editing ruthlessly to ensure it communicated facts without giving them emotional ammunition to dismiss me as overreacting. Dr. Simon had coached me on maintaining boundaries during confrontation. Stick to observable behaviors, rather than assumed intentions, Use I statements to express impact and clearly state consequences. At precisely 7:15 Thursday evening, allowing them 15 minutes to gather at Marcus's house, I sent the first message to my new group chat. I've seen everything in the Christmas 2024 No Ashton group chat. I know what you really think of me. 3 dots appeared immediately as multiple people began typing responses, but I continued sending messages before they could respond. Screenshot of Cassandra calling me holiday parasite. Screenshot of Marcus discussing how to maximize gifts. Screenshot of parents dismissing my Christmas speech. Screenshot of plans for real. Celebration after getting gifts. I followed these with a simple statement: Christmas is canceled, permanently. All reservations and orders have been canceled, and gifts returned or donated. The response was immediate chaos. My phone exploded with incoming calls and individual text messages which I ignored in favor of continuing my planned communication in the group chat. For 5 years, I've spent an average of $13,000 annually on Christmas celebrations for this family. I've attached a detailed breakdown of costs for anyone who's interested in the exact figure. Next came the photo evidence images of elaborate celebrations I'd funded, juxtaposed with the token gifts I'd received in return. Pictures of me setting up venues alone, while timestamps showed family arriving just in time for gift distribution. Documentation of damaged or unused gifts I'd discovered during visits to family homes. I believed I was creating meaningful family memories. Now I understand I was simply being exploited for financial gain while being mocked behind my back. The incoming messages shifted from denial to damage control. Those messages were just jokes. Ashton, Cassandra, you're completely misunderstanding Marcus. How could you invade our privacy like this, Mom? Their attempts to flip the narrative and make me the villain only confirmed I'd made the right decision. I continued with my final message. I won't be funding any future family events or responding to financial emergencies. I'm taking a complete break from family communication for the foreseeable future. Any attempts to contact me through friends, colleagues, or showing up at my home will result in further distance, not reconciliation. With that, I muted the chat and switched my phone to Do Not Disturb mode. The immediate barrage of notifications was visible but unable to penetrate the quiet calm that had settled over me. For the first time in years, I felt unburdened by expectations, free from the constant need to please people who had never truly appreciated me. Within an hour, the inevitable escalation began. Flying monkeys appeared in the form of extended family members, not directly involved in the worst comments. Your mother is hysterical. Whatever they did, they're still your family. Aunt Linda. The kids shouldn't suffer because of adult problems. Uncle Robert, Christmas is about forgiveness. Cousin Beth. These messages received the same silence as the others. I had established my boundary and had no obligation to justify it repeatedly to people who had stood by while I was exploited. The most dramatic attempt came around 9 that evening, when my doorman called to inform me my entire immediate family was in the lobby, demanding to see me. Please tell them I'm not available, and they should respect my clearly communicated wish for space, I instructed him. They're causing quite a scene, sir, he said uncomfortably. Then please inform them that if they don't leave immediately, you'll be forced to call security. I've already shared documentation of their harassment with building management. This was a bluff but an effective one. The doorman reported they left shortly after, though not without my sister loudly declaring I was mentally unstable, and my brother suggesting they might need to call for a wellness check. These threats might have frightened me before, but Dr. Simon had prepared me for exactly this type of escalation. When manipulators lose control, they often resort to suggesting the boundary setter is mentally unwell, he'd explained. It's a common tactic to undermine your credibility and regain access. The following day brought a new approach, a carefully crafted email from my father copying everyone in the family. It struck a conciliatory tone, while subtly reinforcing their narrative. Son, we're deeply sorry you felt hurt by our private conversations. We sometimes use inappropriate humor to release the stress of the holiday season, never intending for you to see those thoughtless comments. Your generosity has always been appreciated, perhaps not expressed adequately. Please reconsider your decision not for the adults who have clearly hurt you, but for the innocent children who don't understand why their uncle suddenly doesn't want to see them. The manipulation was textbook, minimizing their actions, inappropriate humor, centering their intentions over impact, never intending offering inadequate apologies, sorry you felt hurt rather than sorry we hurt you, and using children as emotional leverage. Most tellingly, the focus remained on salvaging Christmas rather than repairing the relationship. I drafted a simple reply, sending it only to my father. I'm not making any decisions about future family contact at this time. I need space to process the profound breach of trust that has occurred. Please respect this boundary. His response revealed everything about their priorities. But what about Christmas? The children have expectations. I didn't reply. The consistent centering of gifts and celebrations over my emotional well-being confirmed I'd made the right choice in stepping back from these relationships. Over the weekend, the approaches diversified. Cassandra sent tearful voice messages begging forgiveness. Marcus attempted intimidation, suggesting my mental breakdown might necessitate intervention. My mother cycled between guilt-inducing reminiscences of sacrifices made for me in childhood and anger at my cruelty in punishing everyone. Throughout this emotional onslaught, I maintained my boundary of distance while documenting everything. Each manipulative attempt only validated my decision and strengthened my resolve to create healthier relationships moving forward, whether with these family members after genuine change or with chosen family who would value me for more than financial provision. The weeks following my confrontation brought waves of emotional turmoil interspersed with surprising moments of peace. Maintaining distance from my family during a season traditionally centered on togetherness proved both challenging and unexpectedly liberating. The first weekend after the confrontation, my apartment intercom buzzed repeatedly as various family members attempted unannounced visits. Each time I instructed building security to deny access and document the attempts. By Sunday evening, management had added a special note to my apartment file, restricting family visitors unless specifically pre-approved by me. Social media became another battlefield. Passive-aggressive posts appeared on my family members' pages vaguely referencing holiday heartbreak and ungrateful relations. Cassandra shared a lengthy post about forgiveness during Christmas that, while never naming me directly, was clearly aimed at portraying herself as the wounded party seeking reconciliation with an unreasonable relative. More concerning were the direct approaches to my colleagues and friends. Marcus somehow obtained my assistant Janet's personal phone number and called with urgent family concerns about Ashton's mental health. Fortunately, Janet had witnessed my consistent professionalism and stability for years and recognized this as manipulation. She informed me immediately and blocked his number. "Whatever's happening with your family, I've got your back," she assured me during our Monday morning meeting. Family drama around the holidays isn't exactly uncommon. Her simple acknowledgement and support meant more than she could know. It was the first indication that I had people in my corner who weren't interested in exploiting me. The most unexpected ally emerged from within the family itself. My cousin Derek, who had participated minimally in the group chat and never made derogatory comments, reached out via email rather than intruding with calls or visits. "I've always been uncomfortable with how the family treats you," he wrote. "I should have said something sooner, but I didn't want to rock the boat. What they did was wrong, and your response is completely justified. If you ever want to talk to someone who understands the family dynamic but respects your boundaries, I'm here." His message brought the first tears I'd shed since the confrontation, not from pain but from the validation of having someone within the family acknowledge the dysfunctional pattern without excusing it. I thanked him for his support and promised to stay in touch separately from larger family gatherings. By mid-December, the initial shockwaves had subsided into more strategic attempts at reconciliation, specifically reconciliation that would salvage Christmas expectations. My parents sent an elaborate gift basket to my office with a card reading, "We were wrong, please call us." The basket went to the office break room, the card to my documentation file, and no call was made. Cassandra attempted a different approach, leaving a tear-filled voicemail. "Emma made you a special Christmas present in school. She asks about you every day. Please don't punish her for adult problems. She misses her uncle. The emotional manipulation using children was particularly difficult to withstand. I genuinely loved my niece and nephews and had no desire to hurt them. After consultation with Dr. Simon, I sent small, thoughtful gifts directly to each child with cards explaining that Uncle Ashton needs some time to take care of himself right now but still loves you very much. These were shipped to their homes rather than delivered personally to avoid creating opportunities for boundary violations. The most aggressive attempt came from Marcus, who showed up at my regular Saturday morning coffee shop, a violation that demonstrated he had been monitoring my routine. I spotted him immediately upon entering and turned to leave, but he followed me outside. "You can't avoid us forever," he said, blocking my path on the sidewalk. "Mom cries every night." "Is that what you wanted?" I maintained the calm demeanor Dr. Simon, and I had practiced for such confrontations. "Please respect my clearly communicated boundary of needing space. I'm not discussing this with you right now." "So that's it. 7 years of Christmases, and you're throwing away your entire family over a few jokes." "They weren't jokes, Marcus. They were coordinated deception and exploitation. Please move aside." When he refused, I simply pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police to report harassment if you don't allow me to leave immediately." The threat worked. He stepped aside with a parting shot. "We're better off without you anyway. Enjoy your lonely Christmas holiday, parasite." His words stung despite my preparation for exactly this type of lashing out. The term holiday parasite, spoken aloud by my own brother, confirmed everything the group chat had revealed. Their true feelings had been exposed, and no amount of damage control could unsay what had been said. As Christmas approached, I faced the daunting prospect of spending the holiday alone for the first time in my life. The isolation might have crushed me, had a surprising invitation not arrived from Janet, my assistant. "My husband and I host a refugee Christmas every year for people who can't be with family for whatever reason," she explained casually during our last workday before the holiday break. "Just good food, no pressure, people from all walks of life. You're welcome to join if you don't have plans." The offer, delivered without prying questions or expectations, provided exactly the alternative I needed. Additionally, I registered for a Christmas morning volunteer shift at a downtown homeless shelter, providing meals to those with no home or family celebrations. With these plans in place, I entered the holiday week with trepidation, but also a newfound sense of authenticity. For the first time in years, I wouldn't be performing the role of generous provider for people who secretly resented me. Whatever emotions the holiday brought, they would at least be genuine. The final family attempt at contact came Christmas Eve morning. A group text from my mother, including everyone: "Our door is open if you change your mind. Family should be together at Christmas." I didn't respond, but the message sparked an important realization. Their conception of family was fundamentally transactional, based on what members could provide rather than unconditional connection. My refusal to continue providing financial benefits had effectively terminated my value in their family system. This clarity, while painful, was ultimately liberating. It freed me from the impossible task of earning love through material provision, a game rigged to ensure I would always give more than I received. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, ready to experience a different kind of Christmas, one built on authentic connection rather than exploitation and performance. Christmas morning arrived with gentle snowfall outside my apartment windows. For the first time in years, I woke without the pressure of orchestrating a perfect family celebration. No last-minute gift wrapping, no early setup at venues, no carefully timed schedule to manage. Just quiet reflection and the freedom to honor the day in ways meaningful to me. I dressed warmly and headed to the downtown shelter for my volunteer shift. The community center buzzed with activity, other volunteers preparing food, setting tables, arranging donated gifts for distribution. The coordinator, a gray-haired woman named Marion with kind eyes and efficient movements, welcomed me with a brief orientation. "First time volunteering with us on Christmas?" she asked while showing me where to store my coat. "First time volunteering anywhere on Christmas," I admitted. "Usually I'm busy with family." She nodded without prying. "Well, you'll find different kind of family here today. one bound by giving rather than blood. Her words proved prophetic. Throughout the morning, I worked alongside strangers who quickly became companions in service. We served meals, distributed small gifts, and simply sat conversing with shelter residents who had nowhere else to go during the holidays. One elderly man named Walter particularly affected me. After I served him breakfast, he asked if I could sit for a moment. His weathered face had seen decades more hardship than mine, yet he radiated a peaceful wisdom. "Not to pry," he said after we exchanged basic pleasantries, "but you've got that look." "What look?" "The one that says you're running from something that hurt you bad. Seen it plenty in the mirror." He sipped his coffee thoughtfully. "Family." I nodded, surprised by his perception. "Figured. Holidays have a way of magnifying family wounds." He patted my hand briefly. "Whatever they did, remember something important: blood makes you related, but love and respect make you family. Sometimes the family you build matters more than the one you're born to." His simple wisdom brought tears to my eyes. This man, who had so little in material terms, offered profound emotional insight without judgment or expectation. Our brief interaction shifted something fundamental in my understanding of connection. After completing my volunteer shift, I returned home to shower and change before heading to Janet's refugee Christmas gathering. Her modest suburban home welcomed me with warm lights and the scent of multiple culinary traditions mingling ham, curry, tamales, and dishes I couldn't identify. Come in," Janet greeted me at the door. "Everyone brings something from their own tradition. It's potluck chaos, but somehow works." I'd brought an expensive bottle of wine, suddenly feeling awkward about its price tag in this unpretentious setting. Janet accepted it with the same casual grace she showed at work. "Perfect. We've got quite the international crowd today. About 15 people total, all with their own reason for being family-free on Christmas." The gathering included an international student unable to travel home, a nurse working holiday shifts at the nearby hospital, an older couple estranged from their children over political differences, and several others with unique situations. No one pressed for details about why others were there. Instead, conversations flowed naturally around careers, hobbies, travel experiences, and occasional gentle jokes. Midway through the evening, Janet's husband Tom raised a toast to found family, the people who choose us and whom we choose in return. May we always recognize the gift of genuine connection. The simple sincerity of the moment contrasted sharply with the elaborate but hollow celebrations I'd funded for years. Here, with no expensive venue, no coordinated decorations, and no lavish gifts, I experienced more authentic warmth and inclusion than all previous Christmases combined. I returned home that night with a profound sense of peace. My phone showed dozens of missed calls and messages from family members, alternating between guilt trips, angry accusations, and transparent attempts at reconciliation, focused primarily on what they had lost materially, rather than emotional. Repère. For the first time, these manipulation attempts didn't trigger anxiety or guilt. I could see them clearly for what they were: not expressions of genuine concern for my well-being, but attempts to restore the previous dynamic, where I provided financial benefits while receiving little emotional return. The weeks following Christmas brought unexpected gifts in the form of authentic connections. Colleagues I'd previously kept at professional distance reached out with sincere invitations. My therapist recommended a support group for people establishing boundaries with difficult family members, where I found understanding without having to explain or justify my decisions. My cousin Derek and I established a separate relationship from the wider family, meeting monthly for lunch and honest conversations about family patterns we both recognized but had approached differently. Most surprisingly, 3 cards arrived New Year's week from unexpected sources: shelter residents, Walter, and 2 others I'd connected with during my volunteer shift. Simple notes of appreciation for conversation and respect shown during our brief interactions. These modest cards held more genuine gratitude than I'd received from family despite years of extravagant giving. As winter mellowed into spring, my family's contact attempts gradually decreased. The initial barrage of daily messages slowed to occasional texts, primarily around traditional contact points like birthdays or holidays. Each message carried familiar manipulation tactics, though progressively less aggressive, as they adjusted to the permanence of my boundary. I maintained my position of limited contact, responding only to messages that demonstrated respect for my boundaries and genuine interest in my well-being, rather than what I could provide. Such messages were rare but not entirely absent. My mother occasionally sent brief updates without demands or guilt trips. My father, once separated from the group dynamic, sent a handwritten letter acknowledging his role in enabling the exploitation without attempting to minimize its impact. The most significant healing came through redirecting my generous nature toward reciprocal relationships. Rather than lavishing resources on people who merely performed gratitude, I discovered the joy of mutual exchange, contributing to friends' projects, supporting causes with both money and time, building connections where giving flowed naturally in multiple directions. By the time the following Christmas approached, I had established new traditions that honored authentic connection. I increased my shelter volunteering to weekly visits rather than just holidays. I joined Janet's planning committee for an expanded refugee Christmas. I established a scholarship fund at my alma mater for students working through college as I had done. The financial freedom from no longer funding extravagant family celebrations allowed me to retire 5 years earlier than planned, while increasing charitable giving. The emotional freedom from breaking exploitative patterns permitted authentic relationships based on mutual respect, rather than performance and extraction. When I reflected on the painful journey from holiday parasite to self-respect, I recognized several profound life lessons. First, generosity should flow from genuine love, not obligation or attempts to purchase connection. When giving becomes expected rather than appreciated, it transforms from generosity to exploitation. Second, family connections should involve mutual support rather than one-sided provision. True family, whether biological or chosen, contributes to each other's well-being, rather than draining one member for collective benefit. Third, healthy relationships require boundaries. My unwillingness to establish limits had enabled increasingly exploitative behavior. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was necessary for authentic connection. Fourth, self-respect sometimes requires walking away from toxic dynamics, even when culturally conditioned to preserve family relationships at all costs. The courage to step back created space for healthier connections to develop. Finally, healing comes through building relationships based on mutual respect rather than isolation. The answer wasn't avoiding all connection due to past betrayal, but carefully cultivating connections where authenticity and reciprocity flourished. 1 year after discovering that devastating group chat, I sat in my living room with a small gathering of genuine friends, raising glasses to celebrate the holiday. Looking around at these people who chose to be in my life without expectation of material gain, I realized I had found what I'd been seeking all along, not the performance of family connection, but its authentic reality. The journey from holiday parasite to self-respect had been painful but ultimately freeing. By refusing to continue funding exploitation and establishing clear boundaries, I created space for genuine connections to flourish. The family I built through conscious choice proved more nurturing than the one assigned by birth, teaching me that sometimes the most loving gift we can give ourselves is the courage to walk away from those who cannot truly see our worth. Have you ever had to walk away from toxic relationships that were draining you emotionally or financially? What helped you find the strength to establish boundaries? If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about finding self-worth and creating healthy relationships. Remember, sometimes the family you choose matters more than the one you're born into. Thank you for listening, and may your holidays be filled with authentic connections rather than obligations.